Welcome to Corporate Warrior, the podcast that brings you the best advice on how to improve your health, optimize performance, and maximize productivity. With your host, Lawrence Neal.
This episode is brought to you by ARX, the most innovative, efficient, and effective all-in-one exercise machines I have ever seen. I was really impressed with my ARX workout. The intensity and adaptive resistance was unlike anything I've ever experienced. I love how the machine enables you to increase the negative load to fatigue target muscles more quickly, and I love how the workouts are effortlessly quantified. The software tracks maximum force output, rate of work, total amount of work done, and more in front of you on screen, allowing you to compete with your previous performance to give you and your clients real-time motivation. The ARX uses a computer-controlled motor to give you the exact amount of resistance your clients need 100% of the time. This means that the resistance can never become dangerous, is intuitive and simple to use, and can provide you with all of the results you and your clients are looking for in a fraction of the time. ARX is highly effective and efficient in delivering all of the benefits of exercise, including increased strength, muscle mass, cardiovascular conditioning, bone mineral density, and injury recovery. As well as being utilized by many high-intensity trainers to deliver highly effective and efficient workouts to their clients, ARX comes highly recommended by world-class trainers and brands, including Bulletproof, Tony Robbins, and Ben Greenfield Fitness. To find out more about ARX and get $500 off install when you place an order, please go to arxfit.com and mention Corporate Warrior in the How Did You Hear About Us field. So again, to get $500 off install when you order, head on over to arxfit.com and enter Corporate Warrior in the How Did You Hear About Us field. Hi there, I am Lawrence Neal and welcome to another episode of Corporate Warrior, the podcast that shows you how to optimize your health and get the most out of your high-intensity training and start and grow your HIIT business. My former guests include the who's who in HIIT, people like Dr. Doug McGuff, Drew Bay, and Jim Flanagan, successful high-intensity training entrepreneurs, researchers, and trainers like Luke Carlson, Adam Zickerman, Mark Alexander, and many, many more. This episode is also brought to you by my Patreon page, which is over at patreon.com/corporate warrior, where you can decide whether you'd like to support the Corporate Warrior blog and podcast and also get access to exclusive content, including behind the scenes in my training, diet, business, and lifestyle, where I share what I am learning to help you get the most out of your high intensity training and achieve your health and fitness goals. If you'd like to learn more about that, please go to Patreon, patreon.com/corporate warrior. Today's episode is with my friend Arjan Meijer. Arjan is someone who I've been connected to online for quite a long period of time now and has helped me along my own high-intensity training journey. He is a true HIIT veteran. He's been doing this stuff for years, since the 80s. And a little bio on Arjan before we get into the meat of the episode. He started training with weights from the late 80s, and he's done it all, read it all, and heard it all. He competed in 2 natural bodybuilding competitions at 22 and 23 years of age. He came second in the first competition and 6th in the second competition, so not too bad at all. After working out with a higher volume, so a traditional approach to training, he came across Dorian Yates's work in the early 90s, which opened his eyes, and then his HIIT journey began. However, this was still relatively high volume when you compare it to his current training, which we'll get into. And even as a natural and a pretty strong responder to exercise, he found that it was still too much training. And he actually quit training in 2005. And this is also due to a very physical job. Arjan works in a meat factory where there's a lot of heavy lifting involved. So he found the training plus the job to be too much. In the meantime, he found out about Mike Mentor and started a new workout chapter in 2008, after which he lost a lot of muscle mass. So he quit in 2005, and over that 3-year period, didn't do very much at all. So he had to kind of regain a lot of that lost muscle. And fast forward to now, Arjan is now back on track, working hard but smart and trying to enjoy himself in the gym. As I said at the start of this, Arjan is one of my trusted HIIT counsel who helps keep me on track. This is another one of those episodes shows where he's just so wise. And, you know, at 47 years of age, at least from when we recorded this episode, which was back in June, I do apologize again for the late publishing. You know, he helps keep me on track because he's a fair bit older than I am and got a lot more experience. And it's just, I think it helps anyone who is like me, who's kind of young and naive, or has been doing it for you know, not very long period of time, can really find the type of lessons and inspiration that Arjan shares on this one to be very, very useful. This is a really fun kind of free-flowing conversation, so I'm really excited to bring you it today. And as I said there, it's a pretty good introduction to high-intensity training. So even if, you know, you're pretty new to HIIT, I think you're going to like this, and I think you're going to learn a fair amount from Arjan. But equally, I think you high-intensity training veterans are also going to really enjoy some of the stuff that Arjan says, and I think you'll find it quite funny and nostalgic at the same time. So in this episode, we talk about all things high-intensity training in regard to Arjan's protocol and his experience and views on HIIT. So we talk about things like routines, his routine in particular, cadence, volume, frequency, all of that good stuff. And we talk about genetic potential and a lot of the controversy in the fitness industry in terms of a lot of the lies that are told out there. We really do get into detail on this, and there's some very raw and authentic conversation here and some great wisdom from Arjan. And we talk about how Arjan got started with his high-intensity training YouTube channel, which has actually become quite popular, with just over 2,000 subscribers. And I think a lot of people will know what I'm talking about. And a lot of his videos rank quite well for different types of high-intensity training workouts. And some of them are just excellent demonstrations of how to train in different contexts. He also has a HIIT shop, which is an online store with lots of high-intensity training-related apparel and merchandise, which is very, very cool. I'm really just happy for Arjan in that. I love the fact that he's actually set this up. And I believe he's sold a fair number of T-shirts. So I really encourage you to support high-intensity training, support Arjan, and head on over to the store and pick up a T-shirt or a hoodie or whatever vest. And there's some really, really cool HIIT slogans to choose from. So go and check that out. And the URL for that, if you want to go to corporatewarrior.co/HIIT shop, and that will redirect you to his shop where you can look at his goods. So we talk about that. We talk about, you know, setting up a business in general, setting up that HIIT business, and much, much more. If you want to connect to Arjan, head on over to his Facebook, which is facebook.com/Arjan.Meijer. That's MEIJER.52. You're not going to remember that, so I will link to all of the stuff that I mentioned in this intro, including the link to his shop, Facebook, YouTube, etc., all in the show notes, which will be over at corporatewarrior.co/Arjan. It's ARJAN, just one J. And without any further ado, I give you Arjan Meijer.
Let's go.
Arjan, welcome to Corporate Warrior. Pleasure having you on the show.
Hello, Lawrence. Yeah, I'm very happy to be here and honored, of course.
Say that again. Say that last bit again.
And honored, of course.
Thank you. Well, it's pleasure's all mine. And, the listeners won't know this, but we've obviously had to reschedule because we had some serious internet issues last time we tried. So I'm really pleased we're able to get back online and schedule something because I'm just interested to learn more about you and talk about high intensity training. So let's give the listeners some context. You know, where are you from? Where are you talking from now? And tell us a little bit about your background and your kind of personal life and training history.
Okay, well, my name is Arjan. I'm from the Netherlands on the west side of Holland. I've been training now for a very, very long time. I started when I was about 19 years old, not knowing exactly what to do because you only then had all kinds of magazines. And I don't know if you ever saw some magazine like this. When you open it up, you have 10 different stories and they all contradict each other and they're all true, of course. So when I started, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. So after a few years of fooling around, had good results actually for somebody who was fooling around. Then I went to some other gym that was with a little bit more knowledge. And after training a few years there, I started to learn about high-intensity training. Not the Mike Manser way yet, because I had no idea who that guy was. Never heard of him. Never. Just knew about Dorian Yates. And from there, the boat started rolling. I did a few competitions in the meantime. And now I'm at where I'm now. I quit a few years in between. Didn't train for 3 or 4 years. Picked up some kickboxing because I thought, that could be nice. But I missed the training. So I went back a few years ago. And yeah.
So when you'd obviously been, I'm assuming prior to stopping training for a few years, you probably realized much of your own muscle potential. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did you find you lost much muscle mass during that time off?
I think I lost almost everything.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I changed my job. The company where I was working bankrupt. And so I had to find another job. And in that time, because that was a little bit before my kickboxing time, the job that I got was too heavy to keep on training 3 times a week. Because then at the moment I was training 3 times a week, and I just couldn't handle with the job that I had then, and I still have actually. So I had to stop training, because at that moment I knew about Mike Manser, but I couldn't wrap my mind around it. That training once every 4 or 5 days was exactly the same actually what I was doing now with the same results. So that took a long time. So in that time, I think I lost about 6, 7 kilos, 8 kilos. So about half of what I gained in total.
Wow. So what exactly was the job you were doing, and are you still doing now as well?
The job what I was formerly doing was I worked in flowers. In the area where I'm living, it's all bulbs and flowers. If you ever saw the photos of the beautiful Netherlands around this time with all the flowers and the bulbs and the Keukenhof and everything, I live in that village, so it's my area. So I worked there in the flowers, so it was nice and relaxed, so I could focus everything on my training and on my daily life and things like that. And now I'm working in a meat factory. We have all kinds of products made by pork, made from pig. So, and that's pretty heavy, but I love it a lot. I really like to work hard. But yeah, again, it's very difficult to combine that with heavy training.
Yeah, I mean, makes sense. And it's coming back to me now, because I know we spoke about this a bit before. I remember you talking about the meat factory. So this is interesting. So so from what you're saying there, you started doing the work in the meat factory. It was a lot of heavy lifting, and you thought, you know what, I can't sustain training 3 times a week, so I'm just not going to train at all. Was that kind of the mindset? And then you discovered more abbreviated, consolidated training, and you realized that would fit in really nicely with this career. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's pretty much accurate. It's very hard. It's not just the recovery part of it, but it's also when you have heavy muscle pain, and when you train everything under full control. But when you're working and have to lift heavy stuff, you're not going to do that. You have to do this in a pretty fast tempo, so everything goes explosively. And when you have already problem in your muscles and near your tendons, and you're going to work like that, it's going to wreck your whole body. So it was just, I couldn't do this. I couldn't make the combination of. So I really had to, let's say, reinvent my way of training. And the way Mike Manser prescribed it in his books was perfect for me. But to still get it into my mind, I think that's a problem with many people I have. Many people that trained with me, that I say, come train with me, train high intensity train. And they were very passionate about their training. And they're still training 3-4 times a week, because they can't just make it work in their mind that that's enough. If you train hard enough, you don't have to go so many times with actually the same results.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the listeners will have probably seen your videos and your pictures. I mean, you're in fantastic shape.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. And you've said to me before, I said, I think I asked you questions on Facebook about your training and your frequency and protocol and stuff like that. And you said, you were quite honest with me. You said, well, look, I'm a bit of a natural. Like I've got pretty good genetics. I work really hard, but I do also appreciate that my genetics have allowed me to build the muscular size. And, with that in mind, since you discovered sort of Mike Mentzer's work and you started embracing abbreviated, infrequent high intensity training whilst being at the meat factory, have you got as good results as you got before or better?
And that's a very interesting point, because many people ask me this.
I bet they do.
Yeah. And it's almost impossible to answer, because after 3 or 4 years of training and you do it in the correct way, you reach already your natural potential. There's not much to gain after all these years. So after that, when you have a little bit of result, you can say, yeah, but in the beginning I had much better results and I did it like this or I did it like this. So no,
right.
it cannot work. So it's very hard to say this. But I have to say that I'm training already so many years and I still have every time a little bit of progress in my strength, in my size, even a little bit, but you almost can't measure it anymore. So that's almost impossible to answer. So if I would have started with the true HIT, what I'm doing now, then I can tell you, it worked like this and this and this. But in the beginning, I had no clue what I was doing. And the first year, I gained about 5 kilos of muscle. So without knowing, I was training hard and I was always training to failure, but always a few sets too many.
Yeah, and it doesn't surprise me at all to hear you say that, because I think certainly what I'm seeing and what the literature is showing is that a lot of these variables that we think matter when it comes to stimulating muscular gain really don't. The variables that seem to really matter are effort and training to or as close to failure as possible in terms of stimulating the body to grow. And obviously you can do that in a variety of ways. High intensity training is just one way. I mean, it's probably the most efficient and the safest way of doing it, and that's why a lot of us do it. But the reality is that, and certainly in your youth where you can be a little bit more aggressive with your training and probably get away with it and use a little bit more frequency and volume, and also being a beginner, obviously, as well, that anything is going to work. Anything is going to get you results. And it just seems to me, I often hear, this is really common. If you look at Jay Vincent's videos, you're familiar with Jay Vincent, aren't you? Yeah. If you look at his videos on YouTube, people will say, okay, Jay, did you do this protocol that got you where you got to, and then you switched to HIIT to maintain? But it's such a stupid question if you understand how training works, because of course he would look like that if he started with high intensity training. It's just ridiculous to me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it works like this. Yeah,
yeah. I don't know.
I mean, my best body parts are the body parts that I don't train. I mean, that's genetics. You can't do anything about it. I never train my forearms. I see everybody, your forearms, you have to do this and this and this. But if I train my forearms, they're too big for my upper arms.
So talk to me about your training. Like what does your training look like and your frequency and that type of thing?
At this moment, because my progression is it's very slowly. I don't care anymore so much about doing it perfect. I'm not going to try, if you train a little bit more often, then no. At this moment, I'm just experimenting a little bit. What can I do? What I don't have to do? And I have tried for a while the Big Five, things like that, but I just can't put my passion in there. I still miss the barbell curls or the dumbbell curls or the triceps exercises or all kinds of exercises in between. I just feel I need this. I don't need this, but I just have the feeling. So to keep on going, I'm doing this. So at this moment, my workouts, I train 3 times in 2 weeks. It's a 3-way split. I train every Saturday and every other week in a weekday, because every 2 weeks I'm 1 day free. So at that time I train my legs. So in the weekday, the days that I'm free, once every 2 weeks I train my legs. And at the moment it's a calf raise, dumbbell squats, leg extension and a leg curl. But I think I'm going to cut leg curl out because I don't see any progress in my legs by adding them. And on the Saturday, I train my chest, shoulders, and triceps because they're all connected with each other. And on the other Saturday, I train my back and my biceps. So that's it. And every workout is about between 20 and 30 minutes. I think my leg workout is about 15 minutes and my upper body is about 20, 30 minutes.
And what's the protocol? Can you elaborate on, is it single set to failure? What are the rest periods like? Stuff like that?
It's actually always one set till failure. Sometimes when I feel that I like to do a little bit of a warm-up, because I use different cadences also. And it's not that one cadence is better than the other. It's just how I feel. I have a cadence that I use 2 seconds up, 5 seconds down. And a cadence 4 seconds up, 6 seconds down. The faster my positive cadence is, then I would put in 1 or 2 warm-up sets, just to make sure. If I use a slow cadence, like a 4-6, then most of the time I don't do any warm-up because the positive part is already so slow that if you're doing this in 4 seconds and you get some injury, then you did really something stupid, I think. I mean, it doesn't matter. I can just go to the gym now and take my heaviest weight for dumbbell squats and just start going. That's no problem. So that's actually the cadence part of it.
And how do you have any rest between exercises, or do you quite quick between them? Like how does that work?
I found that I like to registrate. I like to registrate every time I train. I like to see my progress. And because of that, I like to try the timing between the sets, between the exercises, about the same. I don't want to get to the next exercise all huffy and puffy. It's good when you want to try to train your cardiovascular system, but if you just go in there to improve your muscles, you don't have to rush it. It's really not necessary. So I like to take every time the same time in between the exercises. And that's based actually on the time that I take the weight of the machine and go to the next exercise. In the meantime, I'm resting. And I have a gym that have an upstairs. So for some exercises, I have to go all the way with the stairs up and go all the way to the back. So that's also a little bit of time. And so I keep every time the same timing between every exercise. Because if you go one time, you go a little bit faster between exercises, it can be that you just just lose one repetition. And because I like to write everything down, I think, hey, why? I mean, I want to see every time a little bit of progress. Is it necessary? No, because I mean, it's at the end, it's about what you put in for your effort, and then you get the progress. But to see the progress, I like to keep every time all these things the same cadence. If I change the cadence because I just feel like, okay, last time I did with a dumbbell squat, I did cadence 4-6, and now we're going to do 2-5. Then you get a different repetition range. So I don't compare these things. But next time I do again the same cadence, I wanted to have everything exactly the same.
Yeah, I'm the same. I like to track all the variables. I like to track. I track cadence. I don't track actually, because I let it kind of. I mean, maybe you're similar to this. I let it express itself organically with smooth turnarounds at either end of the movement. And obviously it depends on the exercise as well. But my load and or if in the case of body weight, my difficulty setting, if you want to call it that, and my total workout time. I track all of that in Google Sheets. And I find for me, even if the progress doesn't really mean anything in terms of adaptations, it's just motivational. I don't know if it sounds like the same for you.
Yeah.
Because I do know people I don't think Skylar counts. He might, now that he's using ARX, sometimes he probably does measure it through that. And I know that James still doesn't count. And that's interesting because I have trained like that before. And I just found out I couldn't quite, I mean, obviously it's probably equally productive, let's be honest. But I couldn't quite push myself as hard as if I wanted to make sure that at the end, my numbers looked better. Whilst also bearing in mind that I'm not cheating to make those numbers look better.
because that's the trick, especially when you don't take when you have an organically cadence, because if you record or you write down the time under tension that you had, and you go with the press, you go 49, 50, 60. You can't fully do it. You have 60 seconds. But let's say you get this 61, 62. You count also 63, 64, 65, the negative, because then suddenly you have 12 seconds longer. I mean, and that's why I keep the same cadence from 4-6. I have on my telephone. I made myself an MP3 with myself counting. So I listen to my sweet voice saying I count from 10 till 1 just to get ready, and from the time that I start counting I do my repetition. So it's every time the same at the end, same at the bottom, and same at the end, and I'm not only counting the seconds but also the reps. So rep 1, rep 2. So I don't have to think about, how many reps I did, how far I am, what is this? No, I just, I can't make anymore. And then I hear rep 8. No, rep 8 I didn't make, so rep 7. So I don't have to think about all these things. I'll just walk to the next exercise, restart it, and we go again.
But you count the reps in your head, as well. Is that what you're saying?
No, not in my head.
Okay.
I have it on this MP3. It just counts the seconds, and also I count the reps on the MP3 itself.
So the MP3 will say, like, in your voice, obviously, in your charming voice, it will say like 1, 2, 3, rep 1, 1, 2, like that. Like, how will it go exactly? Can you do it for us? Not don't have to play it, but can you say it to us, like how it would sound?
How it would sound? Okay, it sounds like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, rep 2, and then it goes like this. So it's very soothing. It's very nice. You don't hear the distractions in the back, the music from the gym. Just hear myself saying it. I have also a video about it on my YouTube channel.
Oh, great. I'll link to it. That's such a cool idea. I love that, because
people can use it, and you just need some machine that you can make different, how you call it? We call it sporen, but different layers of sound. Because then you can talk all over yourself and without stopping with counting.
Yeah. I also think that maybe you would need, maybe in some exercises where cadence is better for it to be different or longer, you might need to have different recordings. But there's definitely, I don't know if an app exists that does this. I doubt it. There's definitely a market there. I know. I guarantee you, Arjan. I mean, you're obviously quite entrepreneurial. You should create an app that does exactly what you're saying, because I think a lot of us in HIT would like that. I definitely would, especially because everyone loves your accent too, so it works. But the only reason I don't count reps is for that very reason, because I just get so into the training that I just forget where I'm at, and I'm like at the end of it, I'm like, fuck, I don't know how many reps I've done,
I know.
So I use I just use a sport count, the mini watches that wrap around your finger, which I've spoken about before. It's a fantastic little device, and you wrap it around your index finger, and you can literally hit it with your thumb and start it, so you can you don't have to mess around if it's on your wrist and count, 5 seconds in your head, or I must subtract 5 or 10 at the end of the set or whatever it is.
Okay. I never heard of it.
Oh, right. Okay.
No. Never saw it.
Yeah, I'll send you, I'll send you a little picture of it or a link to one after this. It's a very cool little watch. It means that you can tap it with your thumb on your index finger, so you don't have to move your other hand over to your wrist to start the stopwatch. It's very useful.
Yeah. Okay.
I think they're like, I don't know, $20, $30 or something. But yeah, I use that and that's pretty cool. But I like your idea too. Other people I know use metronomes on their phone, the app.
Yeah.
So a metronome is exactly what you're saying, but less tailored. So it would just be a sound that would play just to give people rhythm when they're training. They know, yeah. But no, that's a cool idea. And I agree with you. Like, if you're trying to extend cadence artificially, that can obviously make your results look better when in reality they're not, and you're not any stronger necessarily. So what I try to do, and this is still obviously, filled with room for error, is I try not, because let's be honest, during the negative phase of a lot of exercises, it does feel a bit like a rest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I try not to extend the negative. I try not to prolong it more than necessary. And so I don't even, so I try and speed that up if I can. And obviously this varies between the exercises, but all I'm trying to say is I won't prolong the negative more than is necessary to try and get that out. I try to be honest with myself at least. But obviously that is full of room for error, I'm sure. It's not very scientific.
Yeah. And I think somewhere in the back of your head, some little voice is saying, push a little bit harder, then you can make the rep. Push a little bit faster. That's dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's cool. So, okay. So I just want to get some clarity on your training frequency. So you mentioned 3 times over 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So if you train, and you mentioned a 3-way split, which sounds pretty logical. So, and actually it's interesting you say that, because I'm at a place in my training where I'm doing kind of like a 2-way split A/B routine. I've been re-inspired having reread Body by Science very recently, so I'm back to that style of training and trying to make improvements in strength. And so when you train 3 times a week like that, you said once on a Saturday, once during the week, and then on Saturday again. Do you still make sure there's a minimum number of days between sessions? So if you train on a Saturday, when are you likely then to train in the week?
That can range from a Monday until Thursday. Yeah, okay. Monday or Thursday. I mean, it's if I have problem because the squats and the back workout that I want to have as many days in between as possible. Because when you do the dumbbell squats, then you're already using your back muscles pretty much. And if you very shortly after that do your back workout, then you still get a good back workout. But if you want to registrate everything, then maybe you get false numbers. And then, maybe you think, oh, maybe I did this wrong or that wrong or that wrong. So I want to have at least 3 days in between back workout and leg workout. For the chest, I don't mind. I mean, I can train 2 days after each other also, no problem. But then after that, I'm going to take my rest. Yeah.
And when you do these workouts, what actual exercises are you doing, and how many exercises do you tend to do? If you give us an example, maybe I'd be interested in your chest and shoulders and triceps, that workout.
Okay, chest. At this moment, I do a decline machine press. After that, a dumbbell pullover. And for me, dumbbell pullover were always back exercise, and for chest, no. Until I start trying it, and I feel it targets very good the top part of my chest, let's say, and the front of the shoulders. And it's not so much the movement that you do, but I think because of the static hold, because you're holding the dumbbell above you, and all this time it's just a static movement, actually, not for your back because it's moving, but for your chest, it almost stays the same. So I feel that helps me greatly. So these 2 exercises for chest, that's more than enough for me. Then I go for my shoulders, and that's a lateral raise. And after that, overhead press.
How do you do the overhead press?
How I'm doing it? I press over my head. How do you mean?
No, because I recently had as I said, I reread Body by Science recently, and I recently had a conversation with Dr. James Fisher about, the issues potentially around shoulder impingement. If your arms are abducted and your shoulders externally rotated, so that for the listeners, so if you imagine, a Med-X overhead press where your arms are, your hands are sort of facing each other and your elbows are adducted into your middle. Well, not completely, but more so. It's not a very good way of explaining it, but it's the best way I can. That's a Med-X overhead press, which is very congruent with the body's biomechanics so that you don't have issues of shoulders. But with a wider overhead press, you can cause some shoulder impingement issues potentially. And that can be something that you can do for years, and then one day you just have that injury, but it's been coming, it's been injured very sort of over time, and then suddenly an event happens, right? It's a crappy way of explaining it, but I think you know what I mean. So anyway, I realized in myself that I was doing, I've been doing an overhead press that is, the latter, that is potentially quite risky. And actually today, after we've finished recording, I'm going to go and have a workout, and I'm going to find another way to work my shoulder girdle. And I was thinking, okay, lateral raises like you described there. But when you said about the overhead press, I mean, I'm thinking I'll probably end up doing a barbell press just because some barbell overhead standing press, just because I don't currently have access to a good overhead press machine.
And dumbbells?
I have dumbbells. So yeah. So how would you?
Then I would rather do I don't like to say his name, but the Arnold press.
Yes.
You know this press?
I do.
You start in front, and then so it's not really that you have it all the way in the back.
Mm-hmm.
So you start to the front and then you turn. So it's almost the same as what you call with the Med-X. And there's also some kind of exercise, the machine that I'm using, not this brand, but it's in front. It's in front. You start in front of you.
Yeah.
And you press over your head. So it's not that you have your shoulder all the way
so
tight position.
Just for the listeners, because I know this is why I don't often talk about biomechanics on the podcast. It's so hard for the listeners to understand what the hell we're talking about unless your name's Bill De Simone or someone who's very knowledgeable about this stuff. Because to be honest, I've only really recently started getting my head around some of these the words to describe these different movement patterns. But basically what I was just demonstrating there on video was, if you can imagine having the dumbbell in a hammer curl position where your palms are facing each other and then you're curling it right up to your shoulder, that's almost the start position of the overhead press of the dumbbell, and then you're extending upwards fully, but you're not pronating your hands. So it's not palms out, because palms out would... Well, I guess it depends on how much you rotate your shoulder, right? Because if you're here, is that still risky, do you think? Or is that like,
I think,
is this better?
I think the more you go to the back, and that's everything with I think with almost all these exercises in the old days, they love to do barbell in the neck press. So you really have the barbell behind you, and there's so much tension on your shoulder, and it's exactly also the same with the pull down. I mean, everybody pulled it in the back, but you lock your shoulder. I mean, you feel it already. You feel already that your whole shoulder is locked up, and then you put some pressure on it. It cannot be good for you.
No.
So it's always better to keep it in front of you.
Yeah. And why would you? Why? Just out of interest, why would you prefer the dumbbell press that you just described over, say, a barbell standing press?
The barbell standing press, it's a good exercise, but there are too many ways to cheat on yourself.
All right.
Just the way you're standing.
Okay.
Because after a while, it's very difficult to balance the weight above your head. So you're going to probably put your legs in a different position to be more stable. Mm-hmm. And it's very hard. That's why I like, if I would do dumbbell press, then I would do it seated. Mm-hmm. So you take away few cheating possibilities that you have with a barbell press, mm-hmm. because it's very difficult to have a barbell above your head. And when you get tired, to still stay focused on your form.
Yeah, and it's also really tempting to arch your back when trying to get that last rep out, and I think that can be quite dangerous too, right?
Yeah, and I think that's why they always in high intensity training prescribe machines.
Yeah,
so you almost can't cheat with machines. You can, but it's less. Yeah, it's very hard, yeah.
I've only ever, and I talked about this in I think it was a recent episode with Mark Strauch, who I know you're familiar with. I think it was on that episode. And I said how, it's so hard to injure yourself on MedX. I've only ever done a tiny niggling injury once on a lateral raise on a MedX machine. I think it might just be called the MedX lateral raise. I can't remember the exact name of it. But obviously it's just where you as if you're doing a lateral raise with dumbbells, but in a machine where you've got the pads. And I just used a bit too much English, bit too much body English, and, arched my back and trying to get that last rep out and did a tiny injury. That's one of my damage to my upper back, which is an injury I did years ago. Getting a bit too enthusiastic with standing barbell presses. Before I come across high intensity training, I was doing them quite explosively and injured myself years ago, which meant when I had to drive home from the gym, I couldn't even check my blind spot in the car because I couldn't turn my head, further than like that. And so I think doing that lateral raise actually aggravated that in that way. But the point I'm trying to make is it's just with well-designed machines, it's so hard to injure yourself. If even if you are exercising somewhat less than perfect, it's still very difficult to actually cause yourself an injury, which is why I like training that way and like promoting that way to train,
Yeah, when you can sit comfortably with some piece of for your back that you can't move back and things like this, it's so much safer and you can more concentrate on the movement. Then you use free weights and you have to check your balance and you have to do this and you have to do that, and maybe to cheat your way up, it's more harmful for you.
Where you train, do you have good access to good equipment, good machines where you are?
Good. It's okay. I've trained on better machines, but the gym where I'm now, where I'm at, they are open 24 hours a day, whole year around. So it gives me the opportunity to go in the middle of the night with my recording stuff and nobody's bothering me, so I can make some videos sometimes. So, but the machines are okay. They're not. There are a few exercises, a few machines that I avoid because they really don't feel nice. But for the rest, I can use them, so they're good enough.
What do you know the brands? What models are there?
No, they have some Hammer Strength that I use from Hammer Strength, and the other I don't know. I never heard of it. They did. This is a company that have many gyms through whole Europe, and
are they called Snap Fitness or something?
No, Basic Fit.
Okay.
Yeah, and they paint everything orange, so you almost can't see what brand they have.
This episode is brought to you by our sponsor, ARX. Are you looking to create a cutting-edge, high-intensity training facility? Are you confused on what equipment to use or how to separate yourself from the masses? Well, then ARX Fit might be the answer you're looking for. I asked Mike Polano from ARX a few questions about how ARX machines are challenging the status quo of the exercise industry around the globe. Mike, if you could, give the listeners a quick summary of why ARX is so different from the traditional machines or tools they're used to seeing in most exercise facilities.
ARX is totally different than anything you've seen before. This isn't just another weight stack machine. We've looked at the last 40 years of exercise technology and used that knowledge to create something entirely new. ARX uses a new form of resistance, a motor, and we pair that motor with computer software so that we can maximize the safety, effectiveness, and efficiency of your workouts. So you may be asking, okay, but how does ARX compare to weights? Traditional machines you see in gyms today are based on lifting metal weights and battling gravity. What people don't realize is that when you're forced to lift a static weight like this, one that doesn't adapt or change while you use it, you're underloading yourself rep after rep. And this unnecessarily limits your ability to make improvements. With ARX, we've taken a totally different approach. We removed weights and gravity from the equation altogether. Instead, ARX combines our patented motorized resistance with our custom computer software to provide you with the world's safest, most effective, and most quantified form of resistance training ever. When you train with ARX, you are training to your perfect level of resistance, both positively and negatively 100% of the time. No more guessing what weight to use. ARX does all of that for you, instantly and automatically. We'll also track and measure every second of every rep, so you can quantify all of your workouts to find out if you're improving and by exactly how much. Whether your goals are bigger muscles, increased strength, stronger bones, or just to look good in a bathing suit, ARX can help you achieve all of these and more, but do so in a fraction of the time it would take compared to traditional equipment. If you're looking for the most efficient, most effective, and most quantified piece of exercise equipment on the market today, then look no further than ARX.
Thanks, Mike. That all sounds really impressive. If you'd like to learn more about ARX, visit arxfit.com and mention that you heard about ARX on the Corporate Warrior podcast to receive an exclusive deal of $500 off shipping and installation off your ARX machines. Because I recently went in a gym in Galway called Snap Fitness. It's a new 24/7 place, which is why I thought that might be the same. And they use a machine called Matrix. Have you heard of that? Matrix machines?
Yeah. I think they have the same. I think probably they use the same format for all these things. Yeah.
Now, the Matrix machines look very fancy. They look nice. I haven't used them, so I can't comment on the strength curves or how they feel. I've just, because I was only getting a show around. I probably could have had a little go if I wanted to. But I was just curious if you've used those machines before and what your thoughts are.
I think they have the same. I think it's from Matrix. Yeah, I think so. But the machines for biceps and triceps, I don't like. It's just too unnatural. The way you hold your hand and where your elbow is positioned, and the strength curve, it's not all that. So I rather use dumbbells for biceps then, and triceps exactly the same. I rather use a cable than these. The leg press is okay. The leg press is what they have, and the pull downs and the row machines, they're good. They're good. The chest also not that. I mean. Yeah, I've trained on better machines than this.
Okay, and that's good to know.
Felt better.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned training triceps on cables, because I recently had Mike Petrella on the podcast, and he has one of the most impressive gyms you've ever seen in our industry in terms of his collection of high-end machines like Nautilus, MedX, Hammer Strength, all of that, Pendulum. It's just insane. His collection is just very impressive. And yet he'll say to me, I always do tricep press downs on cables. Like, he'll use such a basic exercise over any of his sophisticated equipment for his triceps because he just prefers that particular exercise. He just feels like he gets a better workout on a cable than on a, MedX tricep push down or whatever it's press down or whatever it's called, which is quite interesting and reminds you just how important well, how little, how it's not having fancy machines isn't that important, is what I'm trying to say.
No. It's making something with the stuff that you have, and just doing the exercise as good as you can, and that's it. I saw today some question from somebody. I think it was on the Body by Science. That they're all talking about the MedX and and can you get good results on regular equipment? And of course, I mean in the 50s and the 40s they didn't have them. And look at these guys; they look exactly the same if they were natural as how we can become.
Absolutely,
I mean it's exactly the same. And what they did then and what we do now, then you know that there's not one way, and there's maybe a faster or a more economical way, but it all leads to the same.
Yeah, here. I completely agree. I mean, obviously, some machines are just much nicer to use and easier perhaps to progress with, and easier to use for beginners in a lot of cases. Freeways can be a bit more challenging. Do you know what? I'm in the early stages of setting a gym up here in Galway, and we're likely to acquire something confirmed. Well, it might be confirmed by the time this is out, but probably going to acquire a Big 3 or Big 5 MedX arrangement. So you'll have to fly over to Galway and just you should come over with the family, have a little holiday, and I can put you through a workout. You can show me how it's done.
Okay, it's good.
That'd be really cool. So let's quickly talk about your other interests. So you've got this quite successful YouTube channel. I think you've got almost 2,000 subscribers there. You're probably one of the biggest followings in high intensity training on YouTube. So what made you start all of that and start recording videos then?
That's a good question. And about the following, don't believe the following. I mean, most people they just follow you and they don't give a shit about what you're making. You see this on every media or whatever. You see them 1,000 followers and maybe 20 people like their photo or something like that. So, well, I started to. I had some videos from Mike Menser, and I put them on YouTube and didn't look at it at all. I just put them on because I wanted to see them. I didn't want to keep them on my computer for whenever it breaks. I don't have them anymore, so I uploaded it on YouTube that I can see them once in a while. So after a while, I checked it and I saw there was about 100,000 people watched it. So I thought, now maybe, and I had already some followers then, but maybe when I'm going to make some videos, maybe it's interesting for the people to see. So I think my first video what I ever made was about Big 5, a home workout, because I did this for a while also. And then when I moved to the other gym, because there's no gym here in Holland that allows you to walk around with the camera and in the day. Anyway, I would not like that also, that people are filming and I'm on the film. So as soon as I started to go to this other gym, and they were open in the weekday 24 hours. Now they're also in the weekend. So then I thought, okay, what can be interesting for the people to watch what they didn't, because the whole YouTube is overwhelmed with all kinds of workouts and all kinds of, and from every workout you just see a fraction. You don't see the whole workout. You just see somebody do one exercise, then you see him walking through some mall, buying some t-shirt, and then and then they go back to some other exercise. And I thought, okay, what I can make that you can see actually the whole exercise, that you see it from A to B, that I'm not stopping halfway because I'm getting tired, rest for 3 or 4 minutes and then do another set, but just show what I'm actually doing. So from A to B.
I love that.
And just the whole, there are some cuts because I'm moving my camera around, so it's not the resting period in between. Sometimes it's a little bit longer. Then I normally do because I want to have the camera at a certain angle or whatever. So I thought, okay, how can I make it a little bit more interesting? And what is not done already? I mean, I didn't train for 4 weeks because I was sick. And after that, I thought, okay, you know what? It was actually 3 weeks. And then I thought, let's make it 4 weeks. I don't train my legs for 4 weeks. Let's see what happens. So I take my camera and I show it. And then people, they can open their eyes a little bit. I hope I'm a little bit original with these things. That's not all the same bullshit what you see on YouTube.
It's certainly not, and it's all good stuff. And you reminded me to ask you about that layoff. So let me guess, you had 4 weeks off, and you came back probably stronger or just as strong as before.
I was sick. I had the flu, and that was, I think, about 1 week, 1.5 week. I was sick. So after that, I started training again, but I had, I think, then a 2-way split. Yeah, I think I worked then a 2-way split. So I trained my first part, and second part would be legs. And so after 2 weeks, I started training again. Then after 3 weeks, now I have to do the other part. But I was thinking, now, you know what? I had before that I didn't train for 3 weeks. Let's see what happens after 4 weeks. So I took 1 week extra off from training, and I went there, and I checked it today, and I think I did I took 2 kilos more per dumbbell. So that's 4 kilos up. That's 8.8 pounds. And I had 1 rep less. So I was stronger. So anyway, I had my progress. And anyway, I was a little bit stronger still. Most likely when I would go 1 week later, then maybe the progress was not there anymore. So I went a little bit off, most likely. And then I would maybe make the same repetitions with the same weight. But now I had 1 rep less, but with 2 kilos more per dumbbell. So I was still stronger.
And you didn't lose all your muscle mass.
No, the people are so scared to lose muscle. I mean, what is muscle mass? You have your muscles that are made of protein, and then you have some filling from glucose and water, and this is what you lose. You stop training for a while, for 1 week, you deflate a little bit. Anyway, I do, and after 2 weeks, that's also there. And 3 weeks, you feel, I feel all weak and I lost everything and blah. And you go to the gym and you blow up like a balloon and you're bigger than ever. So people are so scared about all these things. But if you're scared of it, find it out for yourself. I mean, why people are so scared of losing time? I mean, when you start training when you're 20 and you reach your full potential or near your full potential when you're 24 or 25, what you're going to do until you're 80? Stay the same. Try to find out if the things what you were scared of, that, you have to eat protein now, you have to eat this certain way. No, you can't go 24 hours without food because that's unhealthy. That's not, try it out. I mean, why are you waiting? Why you're in such a rush? You still have about 50 or 60 years of training with minimal of results. So try to figure out and try to keep yourself a little bit interested in it and see how your body actually works without getting scared of everything.
I love that. Such great advice. I get a lot of questions from people asking me about, confused about what's the most effective way to train or, altering some of the variables in their training. And I'm like, well, the answer is it depends, and I know a lot of us don't like to hear that, but, people, if they really care about this, I mean, there are some people that are like, I don't really care. I just want to be fit and healthy. And, that's very straightforward. We know that, a very basic strength training regimen and diet and whole food diet will get them probably most of what they can get. But if you're really, and I'm talking to most of the listeners of this show who are just absolutely obsessed with trying to optimize their gains, it's like, well, the only way you're going to know what really works for you is by just experimenting on yourself. I think it's quite unhealthy to go to not track and to not do, like, I'm talking about if you really care, like if you really care about, does this change in variable affect my gains, then give it a go, and measure it properly, and don't moan about it and don't complain about, when it doesn't work, or you've got to figure these things out for yourself. And like, everyone's different, right? Everyone responds differently. I recently did my own little N=1, and I know there's some issues with that. I know it's not incredibly scientific, but it's the best I can do. I did, from kind of late March to now, I suppose I've been eating, about 165 grams of protein every day. And, that's about 10 pounds heavier than I weigh. So the whole point being, if I overeat a desired amount, then it will help with lean gain. Has it helped? No.
No.
Sorry, go on.
No, but if you eat exactly what you need, that's exactly what you need. You can try to eat 300 grams of protein, what I also did a day. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't make you grow bigger or I grew bigger from almost not eating and a lot eating and everything. I was growing while I didn't know anything what I was doing. Just train hard and that's it. There's nothing magical. It's just how long is it going to take you to reach your full or near your full potential? Is it going to take you, what Arthur Jones says, 2 years? Then I think you're really perfect. and not, then it takes you 5 years. And okay, and then what? Then what? Because what's the fun of going to do a workout and do it for so many years and don't see any progression? How you can stay motivated? Then you have to change your motivation. Then you're going to say, okay, I'm going to do it because I want to stay healthy and stay fit, so I want to stay the same. If that's your motivation, then keep doing it. But many people are so in a hurry until they reach their goals, until they reach their potential, and then what? Then they start doubting because, listen, I was doing this, but I was growing, and now I'm not growing anymore. What I do wrong? Maybe I should eat more because one magazine says, you have to eat like this. And then, no, if that doesn't work, then you're going to do this and you're going to do this. You just almost reach your full potential. So it's almost impossible without the chemicals to overcome that.
Yeah, just before we were recording, actually, this morning I caught a quick video on YouTube of I won't name the guy. I don't want to, shit on his parade. But he's one of these kind of online fitness professional people, or I shouldn't probably say professional.
If he makes money with it, he's a professional,
I suppose, and I'm sure he makes lots of money. And he's in, this is the usual thing, right? They're in really good shape because there's a selection bias, and they respond really well to anything you throw at them. So they look great, so people believe what they're saying because people say, oh, well, he looks like that, so if I do what he does, I'll look like that. And we all know that's complete nonsense because it's all down to genetics. And I guess what I really want to do on this podcast, I've got lots of things I want to achieve, but one of the main things I really want to get through to people is just to kind of help show people, look, it's, if I were to summarize it in one sentence, Skylar Tanner said it best, which is, it's not the protocol, it's the biology that is a limiting factor. It's your genetics, Yeah. And I'm really passionate about this because I think that the health and fitness industry does such a disservice in selling, this chap I was just referring to earlier, he's quoting all this science about, supersets are more effective at this and this rest period is more effective. I'm like, does it really matter though? Does it really make a difference? Like, have you really gained much muscle in the last 2 years? Probably not. He probably maxed out a few years ago and now he's just maintaining. And I just don't think it's necessary. I just think it confuses people. Because the people you're talking about, they come across some of this stuff and then they think, oh, maybe I don't have just a pound a year to look forward to. Maybe I can unlock 20, 30% more gains. That's what they think. They think there's a magic bullet. They think, okay, they've got some gains doing X protocol, but then they think there's something out there that's going to give them this extra 30% or whatever you want to call it. And it just does not exist. And I just think it's so unhealthy to be obsessed with that. I think there's so much more to our training and to life in general than being obsessed with trying to get that. And I think really those people, and I'm included in this because I've been this person, and I still sometimes have my bad days, where we have to look at ourselves and go, assuming you're lean, if you're, a male and you're, I think it's 8 to 11% body fat is kind of the realm which we should be, if I remember rightly, looking at some of the signs. Then if you're there and you've been doing resistance training for a few years or high degree of effort, you've probably got what you can get. And it's just looking at yourself and being like, I am comfortable with how I am and how I look. I'm happy with that. Because you're probably going to look bloody good compared to the majority of the population if you're in that position, right?
Yeah.
You're going to look much like our ancestors, our hunter-gatherer ancestors who weren't big. They were just shredded.
Yeah, they were lean. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. I just feel quite passionate about the mental health side of things, especially among. I mean, obviously it's with both sexes, but the majority of my listeners are men. A lot of my listeners are guys who have been doing high intensity training, having tried everything else and not getting results because they're hard gainers. And I'm sorry, but I don't know if high intensity training is going to be that magic bullet that you're looking for. I think it all works. It's just you don't have to do as much as you thought you did.
High intensity training is just time efficient.
That's it, right?
That's it. If you can't make volume work and you can't make this work, then there's something wrong with you. I mean, not really wrong with you, but you're just not equipped to get big muscles. I mean, it's now nice summertime, and I go outside and I see these young boys and girls walking around, and you can see they're built for making muscles. They're 15, 16 years old, and they are already big and muscular from themselves. So yeah, when they hit the gym, it's there. But when you see the other side, that they are so skinny that you can almost look through them, and you can see from nature they have not much muscle mass, it's not going to happen. I mean, if you see me walking around with my clothes in my back or with my coat on, you would not think that I was working out. I mean, when I started, I weighed 59 kilos. So I was, and I'm 5'11". So that's and now I'm 20 kilos heavier. So I look like a normal person. With my clothes, I look like a normal person. I mean, I don't look
like... He looks pretty jacked, I think.
Not with my clothes on, really. I weigh around 80 kilos now. So it's 170 pounds or something. Something in the neighborhood, yeah. So I'm looking like a normal person.
No, it's interesting. And you reminded me, I remember, I think Simon said this to me, Simon Shawcross. He said, I've had people walk into my gym that have never, ever lifted a weight in their entire life. And I've been training for 20 years or whatever it is. And they've got more muscle mass than me. Yeah. And it's like, you hear that and you're like, most of this will be so, well, obviously, but it's like, just think about that for a second. Like,
yeah, but it's also so stupid what I see once in a while. Now, it's not really stupid, but it's more ignorant that people ask then how big are your muscles? How big are your arms? It's not how big they are, but how small they were. I mean, if I started with 15-inch arms and I gain 5-inch, they're 20-inch. But when I start with 10-inch and I gain 6 inches, is still 1 inch bigger than the other guy when he started. I mean, then you would say, hey, look at him. He has big arms. We go to him to ask how you get big arms. Well, he only gained maybe 5 inches, while I gained 6 inches. Mm-hmm. But my arms are much smaller. So it's ridiculous to ask how big you are, how big your muscles. No, it's about how small you started and how they are now, and what you did for them.
Yeah, good point. And I also just want to say, I think I don't want this podcast to come across like, oh, it doesn't matter. I don't want to demotivate people. Obviously, you and I are both very passionate about our training, and continue to do it. And, both of us, I'm sure, would like to see improvement in terms of muscle gain. I mean, let's not beat around the bush. I'm always training with that in my mind, even if it's not possible. And I probably don't have all the answers. I know I certainly don't have all the answers. And obviously I've had people on the show like Borg and other people who specialize in individualizing training programs for people to eke out those last few gains. And, I'm certainly not an expert in how you go about doing that for other people. I mean, that's kind of my role here on this podcast is, obviously to interview those that are very good at that. And, I'm not even an expert in doing it for myself. Like I'm still learning about how I can get, optimized gains for myself. So I do still train with some of that in mind. It's just not the be all and end all. But I was going to say, Arjan, what obviously the listeners would be, I'm sure, and this is going to completely contradict what we've been talking about, and we're going to sound kind of hypocritical now. But in terms of what you found to be effective for you in terms of pushing past plateaus in muscle growth, is there anything that comes to mind that has helped you to put on more gains where you have plateaued in your experience?
It's a very difficult question because I have plateaued, but most of the time when I get stuck with some exercise that I just can't get stronger anymore, to change the exercise, because and that doesn't sound any logic because it is not, but to keep motivated and to keep on going, it's most of the time better to change the exercise that targets the same muscle, because in the beginning anyway you're going to get some kind of stronger. It's not a real strength, but it is more the adaptation to the new exercise. So that keeps you motivated. And what I'm doing now actually is with some exercises, push it a little bit past failure. So past positive failure to help myself. Because most of the time, the exercise is what I can do with one arm, like a lateral raise, a machine lateral raise. Then for the last few repetitions, I do forced reps. And that seemed to help me a bit, because I'm still, it's one of the few exercises that I'm still go pretty quickly, have results actually. There are a few muscle groups that I have that are neglected in the past a little bit. And so there's still some chances that they grow a little bit further. So with passing a little bit past only the positive, it seemed to help a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. So yeah, using some of those changing exercises or using advanced techniques to break past some of those strength plateaus is ultimately what you're suggesting has worked for you there.
Yeah, there are few exercises that you can do, but you miss the counterbalance of your body. There, like when I do dumbbell pullovers, I could do them for a while with more than half of my body weight. If I go, so the rest of your body is actually your counterweight. So the more heavy you're going to use, the more chance there is that you're going to tip over the bench. And it's the same with cable pullovers for the back. Some people do them as pre-exhaustion for the lat pull down. Then again, you have a problem with the counterbalance. I feel anyway. The only way to overcome, and it's with the triceps press downs also. You have some video of Dorian Yates that he hangs a heavy dumbbell around his waist to keep him down, because you're going to lift yourself almost up. So the counterbalance is it's more difficult to use heavier and heavier weights, even if you get stronger, because of the counterbalance. Anyway, this is how I experience it.
That's a very good point. So you've got this fairly new online apparel business selling what looks to be high intensity training related t-shirts and hoodies and things like that, and quite heavily customizable from what I can see. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's fairly new. Yeah, I've been busy with it for now, I think 1 month or something, because I made a few t-shirts for myself and sweatshirts. I designed them myself, and I was walking around with it, and people saw it on social media and asked where I could get them. I said, "Yeah, you can make them yourself." So I was thinking now, that there is nothing really hit related t-shirts what you can buy in a shop or internet shop. So I was thinking, I wear them myself. I want to wear them myself. Let's make a few and put them online. And I do this with a company called Spreadshirt. And it's a very good company. The quality of the shirts are really very good. You can ask Mark Straw. He bought a few from me.
All right.
Thanks, Mark. So he can vouch for this. That the quality is very good, and it goes from t-shirts to hoodies, coffee mugs. They have everything, and all printed with original designs.
Oh, you got one there. What does that one say?
Oh no, this one is not mine.
Okay.
But
it says, Arjan's wearing a t-shirt that says, "Nothing beats a fit body."
But it is not
very
mine.
Appropriate. Oh, is it not?
No.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I think you're absolutely right. I think there's definitely an opportunity which you're capitalizing on to start a business in the high intensity training clothing category, because and I like the way that you were doing it for yourself, and then people were asking you, "Oh, where'd you get that? How do I do it?" And that kind of stimulated you to start a business, because that's often the best way to start a business. Design something or start something that people are already asking you for, rather than creating something that you have no idea if people are going to be interested in. Yeah. I know Derek Sivers, who says, and he's a very successful entrepreneur, he said, he believes that no one should start a business unless someone's asking you for it.
That is a very good one, yeah.
Obviously there are exceptions to that, but it's just an interesting way to look at things. But no, that's cool. So how is it doing? Are you getting many sales?
Yeah, it's going quite good. It's not. I'm not going to order my Mercedes yet, but because it's very difficult to bring it out. Because I have on Facebook, I have a special page for this. But it's very difficult, I say, to spread the news, because you don't want to bother other people too much with it. I can't go to some high intensity forum and post something there. I mean, they kick me off immediately, of course, because there's no. So the only way to do it is from mouth to mouth, and a little bit Instagram and things like this. So yeah, that's very hard to do.
Yeah,
to promote everything.
I respect that. I don't think it's a good idea to post our businesses and our services in groups like that. I think it's actually a waste of energy. This is a new belief of mine, really, because I used to be, you might have even noticed, I used to be very, very proactive in posting all my podcasts in all of the high intensity groups. And, I know as an owner of a group myself, that you don't necessarily want people posting regularly in your groups stuff that's taking them away from it. So it could be rubbing up the group moderators in the wrong way. Go on.
I don't like it when I don't like it myself when you put your podcast there. It's not immediately, oh, you can buy my podcast and here. So, but for me, if I put this commercial for my for this shirt companies, then it's immediate. Oh, look, buy my stuff. It's not like I can sit there and I can make a video about my training and I wear my shirt, and then people ask me, but I can't put some advertisements there. I mean, I don't like it when other people do it, and so I'm not going to do it myself also.
No, I really respect that. And you're right. There is a difference between you selling something that's quite obviously a sales effort versus me sharing a podcast. But even myself, I won't spam or post stuff in groups all the time. I prefer doing it this way. I prefer publishing a podcast and then seeing it being shared in a group by someone else other than me. Because that's good for me, because firstly, it's less effort because I don't have to do it myself. And secondly, I think it's actually more effective when someone else does it, because it's like a recommendation from someone else as opposed to me, the creator of the podcast. Obviously, I'm going to promote my own stuff. So that's kind of my current strategy when it comes to social media. I do share on my own accounts, obviously, but just not in the groups as much. But that's cool. Good luck with the business. I hope.
Thank you.
I hope it takes off. I suppose it's just a side hustle for you at the moment, a little side business. Yeah. But maybe one day it could be because this is the thing. You've what I like about your story is you created this YouTube channel, and it sounds like you created that out of just personal interest. You were like, you know what? I want to show people what a full high intensity training workout looks like. And obviously you've built up a moderate sized following there. And then now you can kind of piggyback off that and go, okay, well, I'm going to start this business, and hey, I've got this audience I've already started cultivating over here. So let's promote it to that audience, which makes a lot of sense, because the people watching that are likely to be potential prospects for your clothing. So I think that's smart.
Yeah, it went a little bit like this. I didn't when I started this YouTube channel and my videos, and not thinking, okay, what I can do now. No, I was just thinking, okay, people ask me this, and it's a nice combination, of course.
Do you know what? It's such a clever way I've started to think that it's a very clever way to start a business is by building an audience first in a passion of yours, looking at all of the questions you get asked by all your audience, and then creating solutions for those questions. Yeah. Right. That is like literally, I think one of the best ways. I mean, obviously it's a slower way to start a business, because it means you probably have to spend, 6 months a year creating an audience on a platform. But then by doing that, you start having all these people consume your work and start asking questions and asking for your help. And then you can start keeping a spreadsheet of all the different questions, and you can start actually creating products and services, or promoting, other people's products and services, and earning commissions off that by helping these people. And this is exactly what happened with, I've started, I don't know if you've seen, I've started a membership.
I saw.
But originally it started out, I was helping people with high intensity training. So trying to give them a cool high intensity training resource where they can optimize their protocol and learn more about it and get loads of free content. But more recently, it's become more about, my primary target customer is a strength training business owner, because a lot of my listeners, and this is something I never expected, a lot of my listeners and my audience are business people. They are people that run high intensity studios or businesses. And I love business, as you can tell, the way I talk about it now, I'm quite passionate about it. And I love training. So I'm like, well, I'm quite happy to create content and create resources to help these people in their business. I've accidentally created this audience and got this big listenership of entrepreneurs. So it made sense to me to create a paid membership where I could serve those people and help them with their problems and help them get results. And that's kind of what I'm really focused on right now. The podcast is still something I do at least once a week, but it's not. The membership is more important to me right now, because ultimately that's how I earn my living. The podcast does earn some money through sponsors, but the membership is a little bit more of a, shall we say, sustainable business model for me. But yeah, that was kind of by accident, and now it's something I'm really excited about. And that's not to say I don't, if you're listening to this, you're interested in joining and you're not a business owner, I do help coach beginners in there on things like training and diet and stuff like that. So it's not totally restricted to those people, but a lot of my marketing is talking to that other primary target market. So, but yeah, I just thought I'd take that opportunity to shamelessly promote my own services.
It's your show, Lawrence. It's your show.
I know, but everyone just switched off. So that I guess that leads us to the end of the episode, Ian. But thank you so much for joining me. It was a lot of fun just chatting about high intensity training with you and learning more about you.
I enjoyed it also very much, Lawrence.
I'm pleased. And what's the best way for the listeners to find out more about you and what you're up to?
That's a good one. They can become my friend on Facebook. Then they know personally what I'm all about.
Good stuff. Well, what's the URL for your clothing business? For your t-shirts.
The name of it?
Yeah. What's the domain? The website?
I read it here. I have two actually. I have to explain a little bit maybe. I have two shops. I have one in Holland, and from Holland they are the shirts and everything is printed in Germany, and from there they distribute everything through whole Europe, also all over the world. Only then you get a little bit more with the sending costs. Mm-hmm. That's why I have also a shop in from America. So they're printed in the States from America, and then they go all over that area. So it all depends where you live, what is the cheapest for you. Because when you live in Europe and you want to order something from the States, this has to go through customs, and maybe you have to pay a little bit more. So then better buy something what is European based.
So what are the two domains?
The two domains is https stripe shop.spreadshirt.nl/the a little bit of a stripe hit a little bit of a stripe shop slash. So that's for Europe. And for the States, it's actually exactly the same, but instead of .nl, it's .com.
Got it. I think that's going to be pretty hard for the guys to remember.
I think so.
But I did really enjoy hearing you say that. So what and I think the listeners did too. So what I'll do is I will add those links to the show notes so that people can check out your wares. And for the listeners, if you want to find the show notes, blog post for this episode, please go to corporatewarrior.co/Arjan. That's ARJAN. So Alpha Romeo Juliet Alpha November. So that's corporatewarrior.co/Arjan. And to find the full list of episodes, please go to corporatewarrior.co/podcast. And until next time, guys, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. Before you head off, head on over to corporatewarrior.co/ebook to get a bunch of goodies, including number 1, a free ebook of podcast transcripts with some of my top guests like Dr. Doug McGuff, Drew Bay, and Bill Simone on how to optimize muscle gain, fat loss, and overall health in an efficient, effective, and sustainable way. Number 2, a free high-intensity training business checklist to help you get more clients in your business. And number 3, a free high-intensity training Google Sheet to help you track and improve your training progress. Head on over to corporatewarrior.co/ebook now and enter your email address for instant access. This episode is brought to you by ARX, the most innovative, efficient, and effective all-in-one exercise machines I have ever seen. I was really impressed with my ARX workout. The intensity and adaptive resistance was unlike anything I've ever experienced. I love how the machine enables you to increase the negative load to fatigue target muscles more quickly, and I love how the workouts are effortlessly quantified. The software tracks maximum force output, rate of work, total amount of work done, and more in front of you on screen, allowing you to compete with your previous performance to give you and your clients real-time motivation. The ARX uses a computer-controlled motor to give you the exact amount of resistance your clients need 100% of the time. This means that the resistance can never become dangerous, is intuitive and simple to use, and can provide you with all of the results you and your clients are looking for in a fraction of the time. ARX is highly effective and efficient in delivering all of the benefits of exercise, including increased strength, muscle mass, cardiovascular conditioning, bone mineral density, and injury recovery. As well as being utilized by many high-intensity trainers to deliver highly effective and efficient workouts to their clients, ARX comes highly recommended by world-class trainers and brands, including Bulletproof, Tony Robbins, and Ben Greenfield Fitness. To find out more about ARX and get $500 off install when you place an order, please go to arxfit.com and mention Corporate Warrior in the How Did You Hear About Us field. So again, to get $500 off install when you order, head on over to arxfit.com and enter Corporate Warrior in the How Did You Hear About Us field.